Maria Hinojosa, welcome and welcome back to Seattle.
I love Seattle. It's great to be back. I really love this town, and I love this part of the country for everything that it represents. And yeah, I love being here.
Well, it's interesting because actually you've come back to the state to do some reporting where I grew up in the Yakima Valley, a small town called Wapato on the reservation.
So when we found out that the Yakima Reservation has a majority Latino population, we found that story to be fascinating. So we did a collaboration with Northwest Public Media, Northwest Public Radio, and it was wonderful to be on the res and actually to help bring this story kind of to the forefront, because it's not something that everybody's talking about. It's a very delicate situation. We were able to find families that were very proudly Mexican,
right,
but also very proudly Yakima, very proudly Native, and that they were teaching their children that they could be proud of both.
Well, congratulations on being honored by the Women's Media Center with the Carol Jenkins Award at their 2017 awards in New York City recently. Tell me more about the award, the Women's Center, the other honorees. I think you were floating, right?
Yeah, no, I was really floating. It was one of those moments where it's just like, okay, ride this wave. This is a kind of, and you realize, of course, that when you're with all of these stars and, historical characters, women, powerful women, that they're feeling the same thing too. They know that what's happening is unique. They don't live every night of their life like this. So, pinch me still that I was on the red carpet. Just, it's like, oh, you're on the red carpet. What?
But who you were with.
Being with Jane Fonda, Gloria Steinem, Ashley Judd, Marissa Tomei, not Hillary Clinton. She was not on the red carpet with us, which I think was probably just as fine. So it was kind of some extraordinary women that night that were getting recognized. And Maria Elena Salinas of Univision, my friend, who got a Lifetime Achievement Award. And the Carol Jenkins Media Award is really for women who just persevere, and who Carol Jenkins, who's a very important and prominent local television news anchor in New York City, kind of has been a godmother to many of us from afar.
How has the president of the United States now, Donald Trump, affected your journalism?
So I'll start with a joke that I think catches some people off guard, but it is a joke, and it's a way in which I kind of make light of a very dramatic situation. But sadly, it's true that I am 5 things that this president does not like. I am Mexican. I'm an immigrant. I'm a journalist. I'm a woman, and I'm flat-chested. I know. I mean, it's kind of like, what did she just say? And it's like, okay, yeah, but he objectifies women, and I'm actually not going to let you objectify me like that. I'm just not. So, and also because we're going to have to find a way to make it through these very difficult times. On the other hand, I like, particularly like today, actually flying out here. It's a day after what just happened in New York. This attack, this quite horrible attack on our city, and I'm feeling very kind of powerless in many ways. And then I just say, okay, you can't do everything, but one thing that you can do, which is to just continue to do really solid journalism, continue to trust your gut that has told you and pointed you in the direction of doing stories that have had impact. So remain focused on that. There's a saying in Spanish, in Mexican Spanish, no hay mal que por bien no venga. There is no bad from which good cannot come. Our audience on the radio for Latino USA grew by 45% last year. Our audience on the radio. You didn't see a big publicity push for Latino USA and listen to us. We've been on the air for almost 25 years. Be sure to you didn't see that. People are listening to us. They want to know. because of the politic and because of the exclusion of journalists of color from the conversation, we created our own politics podcast called In the Thick. It was our response to when I stopped being asked to be on Meet the Press. I'm not sure why that happened, but they just stopped asking me to be on, which I felt really was a problem, not personally, but because of the fact that this was the first presidential election where Mexicans were being attacked, and you have a Mexican American citizen journalist who has credibility. Okay. Anyway, so that frustration led us to create our own politics podcast called In the Thick. And our audience there, we are downloading, at least between 75 to 100,000 downloads a month. Again, you haven't seen billboards and magazine articles written about. No, this is because we are doing this kind of journalism. And so we're responding to the historical moment.
Has it made you more of an advocate?
It's made me, I have always, when people try to put the term advocate on me, and fellow public radio journalists have tried to do this, and I resist that because I am an advocate for the same thing that they are. I'm an advocate for the truth. I'm an advocate for democracy. I'm an advocate for the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I'm an advocate for the First Amendment. I'm an advocate for owning my voice and role and responsibility as an American journalist.
Dreamers, DACA. Do you think there's any chance that the Congress will act on this? The president said that he had a lot of heart for these kids, but then yet decided to kill the Obama-created program, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals.
You're asking me this the day after, or rather on the day that the president has said that now the entire policy of visa lotteries has to be rescinded entirely. And actually watching our fellow colleagues on cable news who know nothing deeply about immigration, all basically saying, yeah, we agree. And I'm just like, what do you know about this? What do you know? And oh my God, this is one man who is clearly mentally ill. And for this, and yet another man who is not an immigrant, who is born in this country, can, shoot 500 people and there's no law that's going to be changed because of that. This is a president that has rudely and horribly and disrespectfully politicized all of these events. And I think he's going to politicize DACA in part as a result of this. I would not be surprised if somewhere along the line he does not bring DACA, have to do something with the fact that there was this, immigrant with a green card who became radicalized in the United States. That's going to have some kind of an impact on DACA. I have no expectation that DACA is going to continue. DACA is very problematic. I don't know that this is a very popular position, but I really would like to see the conversation return to comprehensive immigration reform.
As we speak, you are going to talk at the University of Washington. You're going to be talking about the issues of immigration. You're going to be talking about the limits of due process denial and how Latinos and immigrants are the canaries in the mine. What do you mean by that?
We just witnessed this actually with what just happened in New York City. And I know that this is really problematic. And again, I raise this because I witnessed our fellow, mainstream media journalists basically all falling into line and agreeing with things that are denying basic due process to people in this country. And this is said to you by somebody who covered September 11th, who saw the death and destruction, but who also developed PTSD. So there was a time in my life when I was prepared to basically sign away a lot of my constitutional rights because I was so afraid. So I understand that fear. But the man who committed this atrocity was not read his Miranda rights. He was not given access. He was not told that he could have access to a lawyer, that anything he said could be used against him in the court of law. You know, the Miranda that we all know from Law and Order. He did not receive that because there are ways around denying this basic due process to people not born in this country. So that's one. It's complicated. That one's complicated, right? Because it involves an act of terror. But separate and apart from that, one of the things that happens that we see, that the listeners of this particular podcast are going to know, because they have seen pictures of immigration agents in action, and what do their jackets say? What do their baseball caps say? Police. It says police, and in smaller letters it says ICE. They're not police. They're immigration agents. It is unlawful. It is illegal to impersonate a law enforcement officer. It's a basic denial of due process. If you're an immigrant taken into detention, one, you are not arrested, actually. Terminology matters. You're arrested if you're a criminal. They are not criminals. This is a civil act, but people call it as if they're being arrested. But then they are not treated as if they are being arrested, because when you get arrested for a criminal act, you get Mirandized. When you are an immigrant taken into custody, you are not explained. Nobody explains to you what is happening. Nobody says to you, Maria Hinojosa, you are being taken into custody. You are going to be in this location. You will be held. This is the charge against you. You don't get access to a lawyer, another basic deprival of due process. You don't get access to a lawyer. If you can afford one, you can hire one. We're not going to give you any phone numbers. We're going to be able to move you around from location to location. Your family might not be able to find you. We won't tell you how long you're going to be held here. I mean, they don't know anything. So what do we think about the fact that we have thousands, tens of thousands of people being held in those conditions?
So what's ahead for you now? Continue to do the work, continue to try to focus on those communities that are underserved?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of projects going on. Because I'm Mexican, I have 16 jobs. I never say no to work. I bet I've made you laugh a lot more than most people.
Yeah.
Because I do. I have to laugh. I'm in the process of trying writing a book. We haven't sold it yet, but I do have a new agent, so I'm very excited. So I'm writing a book.
About?
The working title is "Illegal is not a noun." And probably underneath it will be hashtag there's no such thing as an illegal human being. The company is a nonprofit. We're always raising money. So if anybody hears, please donate to futuromediagroup.org. Because everything that we do is I didn't create this company to make money. I created this to create journalism and to create my own newsroom and to have young people who work in a newsroom that is 70% women and over 75% diverse. I'm doing a lot of traveling, so I feel very hopeful. Even with people, and I talk with everybody, so most of the time I'm asking people who they voted for, and the people who voted for Donald Trump, those people who are rabidly racist, rabidly white supremacist, are really a minority in our country. And there are many people who want to support this president for all kinds of reasons. But still, I'm engaging in conversation with them, especially people of color who voted for Donald Trump. I'm in a lot of deep conversations with them. They are part of our country. And none of us should be living in fear because none of us are going anywhere. So we're going to have to figure this out.
Maria Hinojosa, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. Enjoy the rest of the time that you're here in Seattle, and keep working all those jobs and be the good Mexican who does all the great journalism too. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's so good to be back and so good to see you, and thank you for having this conversation. And I love you, Seattle.